all of this class, except for this technique, is going to be about a straight ankle lock variation called an Aoki Lock. Okay. First, we're going to focus on the basic straight ankle lock, which is going to provide a lot of details for also finishing the Aoki. Okay. Sometimes you might not need to get as far as the Aoki Lock. All right. So first thing we should talk about here. Okay. When you're in single leg X, it is good to stay like almost hit the hip here as much as possible, like have his knee in your lap. That's good for maintaining X guards. It's good for getting heel hooks. Okay. You're gonna almost break that rule slightly when you're going to attack the ankle, because we need to make space here to get a good bite with the overhook. Okay. So from here, okay, we're gonna start sitting up like this. Okay. I want to get my elbow as close to the base of his heel as possible, and my armpit and lat as close to like the end of his toes as possible. Think of his foot like an arm bar. This would be like grabbing the wrist and hyperextending his elbow. Okay. So I want to get this as deep as possible here. I want to get my elbow through as much as I can, and I want to get my wrist high. Okay. Now from here, I want to go so far on his toes that I feel like I'm at the point where his toes are about to actually slip out. Okay. That's the end of the lever on his foot, essentially. So like when you get your lat and your armpit in place here, you should feel his foot flexing, and you should feel like his toes are going to slip out. And if you were standing behind, you should like barely see his toes here. Okay. Now from here, there's a lot of different grips we can do. Guillotine grips, high elbow grips. We're going to focus on a grip called the shotgun grip. So it's basically a Kimura grip or rear naked choke. This is going to help us maintain space with the full lock and help us get a good bite on this. Okay. So the shotgun grip is going to be grabbing the shin, grabbing my own wrist, and the gi we could grab your pants too. We'll talk about that tomorrow on Thursday. 1, 2. Now, especially if Ulysses is trying to come towards me, okay? Yeah. Or just generally, I'm trying to get a better bite. I'm going to use this grip to punch his leg away. You guys see what happens when I do that? His heel comes to the front. Okay? I want this heel on my chest. This is going to solve a lot of issues, not just making the ankle lock tighter, but if he tries to kick his foot through, he's just going to kick me in the chest. If he comes up, he's basically just going to be standing on my chest, which is really good. Like it's almost impossible to pass single legs like this, okay? Or any type of leg movement. So ideally we're here. Is it completely necessary? No, okay? But it's very ideal. All right. So guys, a lot of details yesterday. I know this is somewhat new for some of you. I want this to be the focal point of the entire week, is getting a good grip on the foot. Because if you don't, you can do all the fancy shit you want. He's just going to sit here and stare at you, and he's not going to tap you. Okay. Always focus on this first. Okay. Now from here, do I want to stay in single leg X? Okay. Against a novice opponent, you will get a lot of taps here, especially in the gi. Okay. But there's a lot of deficiencies with this position in terms of straight ankle locks. You can push my foot down somewhat easily. You can open my knee somewhat easily. Okay. So we're going to switch to what we call an outside Ashi position. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take my middle foot, I'm going to bring it over his hip, I'm going to cross my feet here, and I'm going to follow my shoulder. Okay. Now from here, what I'm doing is I'm curling my heels. Okay. I want a good extension with my head and my back, but one of the main details here that you guys can't really see right now, the elbow that's under his heel, I want you to pull this behind you. That's going to get a good crunch on the foot there. Okay. Really start engaging that pressure towards the toes. All right. Would anyone like to feel that? Joe? Thank you. Okay. So if you're unsure where to start, just start like this, guys. Have your feet between your partner's legs. Scoot in, foot on the hip, middle foot on the far leg. Okay. Elbow as close to the base of the heel as possible. Get your hand nice and tight to your face. You shouldn't be able to go any further past that. Okay. If you're having trouble like sliding your lat down to the toes, that's another reason why you're using the shotgun grip. Shotgun it. That'll get your lat right to the toes. That'll help you pop the heel right to the front. Okay. Now from here, I'm going to take my foot out, bring it over the hip, cross my feet. I'm curling. I am going chest down. I am extending my head, but big detail here. I'm pulling that bottom elbow behind me. He'll tell you that's when it starts to get really, really tight. Make sense? Any questions? Cool. Let's go. The thing we're going to change with the gi is some of our options for gripping here, which can be pretty strong options. Okay. So once you have this part down, you have the option here to grab your own lapel. Okay, the far lapel, don't grab the close lapel because that's going to influence you to grip more shallow. We don't want that. Okay. So when you punch deep, make sure you're reaching for the far lapel. Okay. My second hand here, since I'm grabbing the lapel, We can also grab the material on the gi right below the knee and push into it. It's actually a very strong grip for locking out the knee, and it's still gonna provide us what we were doing in no-gi this week, which is that shotgun motion, where we use a pushing motion to bring his heel more towards the front of the chest. It's gonna make a stronger grip in terms of him trying to kick his foot through. If he tries to stand up, he's gonna be standing on my chest. Like, he's gonna be pretty stuck here, okay? Otherwise, some of you are doing no-gi tonight, just stay with that same shotgun grip we were using in no-gi, okay? And obviously that's gonna work in the gi as well. All right, elbows under me, I'm doing this, okay? It's very important. Even though this is slightly better than that single leg X position, one thing he's gonna do here a lot, and this is ankle lock defense we work a lot in class, Ulysses is gonna grab my top knee, he's gonna start to pull it open, and he's gonna start to make a base on his knee here. Okay, we'll talk about later when he stands up. But for now, just him going to his knee, look at all this space right here, all right? It's gonna open up space for what we call a butterfly X guard. So I'm gonna take my left foot, I'm gonna go under his hamstring, and I'm gonna step on my own calf here, okay? When I step on my own calf, move your leg around a little bit, like turn your knee a little, okay? Now watch when I step on my own calf, now do it. Way less motion then, okay? Now the Aoki Lock, we're just moving in the opposite direction now. I'm turning this way more, okay? So my elbow and lat are gonna engage backwards this way. Remember the toe fold? I want us to go that way. Yeah, that's it, okay? So it's, realistically, if you're doing this right, it should be a much faster catch on the submission, okay? Anyone want to feel that? Anyone? Thanks, Joe. Okay, so we're here. Okay, get that good bite. Guys, again, like, at this moment, like, it's not going to be perfect. Like, the heel's not going to come in front right away. Okay, it's not going to be super tight right away. You're going to make a lot of adjustments when you go to the shotgun grip. Okay, that gives you the ability to push and pull here. Like, you're gonna make lots of your adjustments there. And then after you get the heel to the front, that's when you, later on, you can do different grips. Okay? So make sure you're focusing on that. Bring my leg over, but right away, Joe starts to open the knee. Good, right here. It's gonna be really hard to finish the ankle lock. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my top foot, I'm gonna make a butterfly hook under this hamstring, and I'm gonna use this to push. Okay? If you want, there's a lot of different things you can do with the top foot. For now, you can just step on his stomach and push here. Okay? Move your knee. So what you should feel here is once you get this in place, extend your legs. Okay, how about now? Not so much. Okay. Now this is where I start to engage. Should be a tiny motion there. So, sorry. No. When you catch the foot, you get the hook under, don't forget to do this. It's going to help a lot when you're finishing the full lock. Make sense? All right, cool. If Ulysses comes back this way, like all the way to his hip maybe, we'll talk about standing next, okay? That's where you're going to finish the Aoki Lock, like the first one, okay? And in some situations here, okay, maybe you lose foot position, or like maybe you can't get good leverage here, we'll go belly down with it too. Okay? Ulysses opens my knee, he goes to tuck his knee, I go to butterfly X, or maybe I didn't yet, and he stands up. Okay. Now this is going to happen if you don't get the heel to the front, which is going to happen a lot. Okay, you're not always going to be able to get the heel to the front. All right, so from outside Ashi, if I haven't already, I'm going to switch to butterfly X. If you were already there, great. Okay. Now the problem is with this is I'm in front of him. Okay, I'm not underneath him, so that affects my ability to off balance him here. So if I were to push him, keep your weight strong, nothing happens. Okay, if I try to kick him over me, nothing happens. All right. So the first utility we're going to use here is a heel curl. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my heel to curl into his hip, raise my hips, and then I'm going to pull my knees tight to my chest to pull my hips under him. Okay. See that? Already I'm off balance. Okay. Now to get a stronger off balance, I'm going to collect both legs, and just like we do a lot from X guard, with my butterfly hook in and with my hook here, I'm just going to raise my hips, and I'm going to stretch my legs overhead to make him put his hand on the mat, okay? And now from here, we're going to go back to the original finish. Now that his weight's off me, now that I'm under him, I'm just going to start to bring my head to the outside, grab his shin, stretch on my own leg here, and then we can go right back to the Aoki Lock. Joe? Guys, remember, I said this a lot yesterday, if he stands up from here, stay here, okay? You're in single leg X still, you still got a big chunk of jiu-jitsu you can play here, okay? I'm only gonna advise you to leave this when he's standing. Like if this is really becoming like a big central part of your game. Otherwise, like generally, I'm gonna advise you guys to stay here, okay? The problem is, when we decide to switch here and he stands up, we need to make very particular choices because it's going to be hard to put this foot back in the lock. Okay? So, again, Joe tucks his leg here, he stands up. Okay. So, I get the butterfly hook, okay? I need to use a strong heel curl to engage my hips and pull my knees forwards, okay? That's going to help me get my hips under. If he runs away from me while I'm doing this, I can use that heel curl, just keep pulling my hips under and chasing this leg, okay? He's not going to go too far in this scenario, okay? Now, once we get both legs and we get them here, I'm going to start to elevate my hips, stretch my legs over my head, put his hands on the mat. From here, we're just going to come right back to the front, extend our legs, and we'll go right back to the same finish. Make sense? Okay. Guys, just one note here. Some people have asked, like, well, what about your foot here? Is the knee exposed? Okay. The cool part of this is if Joe turns outward for whatever reason to try to heel hook me, to try to grab my foot or whatever, watch, just basically like single leg X, okay? Okay? Just try to lock on a heel hook. He's on balance, okay? So that's actually a good counter if he tries to turn out to the outside and grab your foot. Make sense? All right, cool. Let's go. Situating myself in a position like this, like a normal X guard, like meaning I'm not directly underneath him here, okay? So unless in transition I had a good fight and like I'm just chasing it, okay? Let's say this is kind of neutral right now. I don't really have a strong leg lock right now. If I go to push Grant and he has good base here, nothing really happens. If I go to like load him forwards, nothing really happens, okay? So I'm not underneath him, all right? So it's very important that we do this part first. It doesn't look like a lot, but it's actually positioning myself in a very strong place. So heel curl, hips engage, pull yourself forwards, and now we're getting underneath of them. Once we get underneath of them, that's when we extend. And then once we extend, that weight's off of us. It's gonna be much, much easier to pull ourselves back to the front and shotgun this, stretch. There's our finish. Make sense? So in this case, okay, when I can't do that, or maybe if you don't want to do that, we're gonna pummel this knee to the inside now, okay? Almost like we're reversing or mirroring this hook. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my Aoki hook out. I'm gonna bring my knee to the inside, grab both legs, and again, do the same off balance, okay? Now I can just put my hook right back in, okay? Now for a lot of you, okay, if you don't have the flexibility or not into inverting and whatnot, you'll just keep going back to the same finish, okay? I'm gonna recommend most of you do that. Now, we have another option for a finish here, to go belly down. So for heel hooks, a lot of times, especially for 50-50, we do what's called an inside spin. We can do a very similar movement here. So I'm gonna take my hand, I'm gonna let go of his shin, I'm gonna put the back of my hand on his calf here, okay? I'm gonna start to look towards my hand. I'm gonna start to look towards the ceiling, and I'm gonna keep rotating my head to pull my hips all the way underneath. I'm gonna keep that Aoki hook to pin his knee to the mat. That's gonna allow me to cause a lot of damage to this ankle, okay? Now from here, I come all the way out, I start to lift my elbow, I go back to my grip, and I get a really strong belly down finish, okay? That finish is not exclusive to this spin, okay? A lot of you, I saw you like discussing this amongst yourself. What if the guy turns this way? What if the guy turns this way, okay? The finish isn't always gonna be here. Sometimes they'll rotate back this way and you'll get the finish here. Sometimes they'll over rotate, and that's where you'll get this finish too, okay? Joe. Okay. So, remember, deep elbow. Don't forget this, very important. Outside Ashi, he stands up, okay? I go to butterfly X and I can't bring my hips under for whatever reason. So I switch to a bringing this hook to the inside. Okay, so I take this hook out, I bring my knee in, and this is going to be a surprisingly strong off balance here. Hips up, extend. Okay. Now from here, don't forget, you need to put this hook back in. Very important. Okay. If you want, go this way. Okay, that's always going to be a good option. Okay. If you find, like, especially if you're getting yourself really deep under him, like Nick just did this on accident, it was pretty cool. He got underneath his partner so much that he was going all over the room. Okay. If you're kind of there, but you still need help getting through, take this hand, switch the back of your hand to the calf. Look at what that does. It helps pull me this way. I look up, I look through, I look down, belly down, raise this elbow, grab the shin, grab your wrist, okay. And you'll get a very, very strong finish. Okay. With the type of pressure I'm putting in, so I'm expanding down this way. I'm trying to touch my groin and my stomach to the mat. Okay. Pressure into the leg, so make sure you're still curling that elbow up too. Okay.